Unfortunately, we've decided not to move forward with your application at this time. How many times have you seen that phrase and thought, I can't do this anymore? Jade Arthur is a language and mindset coach for job seekers in gaming, ESL teacher, and lifelong Pokemon trainer. She designs learning experiences that teach real-world job skills, blending instructional design, gaming principles, and AI-enhanced education. And she's here to help you find the joy in the job search journey. Every day, you encounter new job search challenges, struggling with interviews, managing time, or figuring out what to say in your cover letter. But it's even worse not knowing the full extent of what you're up against. So Jade puts a face to those challenges and brings their weaknesses to light. These aren't just metaphors, they're job search villains like the interview assassin and the cover letter crusher, and they give you something to fight rather than feel bad about. The job search has evolved, and like a level 100 Charizard, it's intimidating as hell. But Jade's mission is to help you take down those villains so you can see the path ahead and become the hero of your own journey. Find out more at makethegrade.com. It's time to job search differently. And welcome to another episode of Freelancer Training on how to find more direct clients, a podcast hosted by me, Jason Willis-Lee. This is the show that makes digital marketing easier and more fun using the perfect combo and just the right dose of business strategy and tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis-Lee. I'm a medical translator and I'm a digital marketing enthusiast. And today I'm very thrilled to welcome another special guest. Her name is Jade Arthur. Jade, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great and honored to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. Could you just sort of, to break the ice, tell us a little bit about your business journey? How did you end up doing what you do? It's really niche. I'm so looking forward to talking about this with you. And what's your unique vision for where your niche is going? Because you basically make job search fun by working with gamers and Pokemon and we talked about all these Pokemon villains. How did you get into this niche? How did you end up doing what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So basically, I started going to college. I got my English degree because I loved writing. I thought I'm going to go into writing, but it's hard to get into writing. So
Right.
I had to kind of find opportunities that were going to be in line with my love of English and language. And when I started, I got a little job near where I live, um, tutoring like for the ACT and the SAT, which are college entry exams here.
Correct. Yeah.
And um, and then eventually I kind of also started getting into English as a second language. I wanted to build more opportunities, make more income, and it was difficult to kind of find what I was looking for. But once again, I kind of realized that English teaching online, while I love it, is not very sustainable and it doesn't pay a lot. So as I grew as sort of just somebody that was a student of myself, of what I was doing, of teaching and of being online and trying to get students, I recognized that having a niche would be something really beneficial to me that I could tap into. And why gaming? Really, it comes a lot from I was connecting with people in gaming because I liked games. I grew up like watching the E3 conferences, which are conferences that kind of show off new games. I would look at like Game Informer and Nintendo Power, which were magazines. Of course, I played games. And I kind of could see that I understood the way that they think and talk. Not only that, I also really recognized that I loved education and I loved learning through games. So the combination of teaching gamers through education and using the language that I already kind of knew could help me kind of really connect with them and make them see what they're missing in their job search, what they're not doing, but also how they could make it more joyful.
That's amazing. So when you say English as a second language, you were teaching non-native speakers of English to improve their English, right? Okay.
That's right,
Amazing.
yes.
So, okay, let's talk about the job search landscape and villains. What does search differently actually mean? How do you make the job search different? And is that because of these job search villains? And what are they? Where do they come from? You obviously are very into Pokemon and gaming. I mean, I was into Pac-Man and Nintendo a little bit, but
Hmm.
probably not as much as you. I remember the Pac-Man and my friend had this yellow sort of plastic carcass with a black base when we were at like 7. So we're talking 1982. And I was
Oh,
just
wow.
gaga about my friend Martin's Pac-Man. And I would go to his house and just be, you know how it is when your friend's toy is so much more interesting than your toy. So I was total into this Pac-Man, and we would just spend
Oh,
hours,
goodness.
probably me on the Pac-Man, him trying to get me off the Pac-Man. So why is so what is it that you make different about job search, and talk about these villains, and why is job searching so difficult right now? I mean, I probably
Yeah.
search for jobs every day. Every single day I prospect as part of my working day, as well as doing the work I have to do. I'm constantly generating new business and or trying to. And why is that so difficult now, Jed?
Oof, there's a lot of reasons, and one of the reasons I look at it as it's time to job search differently is because the job search has changed significantly in the last 10 to 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Most everything is online. Obviously, we're applying online. There's a lot of times fewer jobs and more people applying because there's greater
Right.
access. But not only that, it's really kind of not just understanding what recruiters want, but moving the mindset from I need to get this job in this role to what's the long game when it comes to my career, my impact. And if this does not work out because many people are getting fired, the gaming industry is going through hell. So many people are being laid off. If this does not work for me, and I'm not here for 20 or 30 years like my parents were at their jobs, what am I going to do next? When I approach the job search the next time, what do I have in store that I can then utilize from this job that I've done and then apply differently? So it's a sense of, I think, going at it as this is not the end. This is a job I have now that could be long term, but may not. And I am prepared for should that not work out. I know how to sell myself, promote myself. I've taken what I've learned here, I've re-added it, and looked at your job search as something that you cultivate through everything that you do in a job and out of a job. And then once we perceive it differently, we start to approach it differently. So, as far as some of the things that, make it difficult, I think it's people are not really educated in what a job search looks like today and the
Hmm.
consequences of not being able to articulate your value and your vision to recruiters in a way that aligns with theirs. I think language just plays such an important part in a way that I don't think I would have understood until I was actually learning how to provide this value to people. And because I didn't learn about job searching in college, we don't have enough education related to it.
Mm.
We have it related to the content you might be using for that job, but not actually getting that job.
Right.
And I think that there needs to be a better way of integrating that so that people feel like I know now that I am not just a doer of this thing. I am a marketer. I am my own little entrepreneur. I am my own, designer. I have to do all of these things to present myself in a way that shows value. We end up making ourselves stronger and smarter and more articulate when we take on these roles little bit by little bit. And rather than looking at it as I have to do everything, it's I have to be able to do each of these in a way that resonates with me and the journey I want to take. And it's, step by step, you know.
Why are there so many layoffs in the gaming industry? Is that AI related, or is there another reason?
I think it's a combination. I think the easiest thing to say is AI, and I'm not going to disagree and say no, it's not AI. AI is probably taking a lot of jobs because, it's cheaper and it's sometimes faster. And I mean, I get it. From a business perspective, it probably is more of a safer bet. Um, but at the same time, I think one of the other things that is probably causing issues is the fact that no matter how much art and gaming and movies and music and literature are important, they are not the necessities of the world. So
Mm.
when it's a job that is a necessity, and that is, making food and, stuff that needs to be there. A lot of times now tech is kind of a necessity at this point, but art and creative endeavors have never been necessity as much as those things. So I do think that plays a part as well. Like, if you can do it with fewer people, you're obviously going to do that. And since this is not, you know, get making something that is crucial and essential to life, or health insurance, or being a doctor or being a lawyer, something that is truly essential, I think it's easier to let go of people there. But again, then you miss out on having people that have thought processes that AI just has not fully, not only assimilated, but can really truly replicate.
Let's talk about actionable insights and the future. What could you give my listeners one LinkedIn tip that job seekers can implement immediately? So we are all looking for plum clients online. Those are direct clients for us as opposed to agencies. So it's snipping out the middleman, supposedly, taking a cut, a well-deserved cut because middlemen have backed the clients and they rightly deserve their margin. I work for quite a few middlemen. I'm very happy to do so. But can you give us one sort of tip we can action immediately, and then could you maybe give us a take on, you mentioned ESL education, so could you sort of give us a take on the quality of online language learning and how much that's been affected by AI and maybe what needs to change to make better outcomes for the future?
Sure. Sure. So, as far as an action tip, one of the things that I would recommend right away is going to your bio and creating a hook. Your bio seems like it's really just a place to throw your background, your experience, and some fun facts about yourself, but it's actually one of the most important parts of your job search, because when you have a strong career narrative, you can use that in every part of your application, whether it be when you're giving interviews or how you talk about yourself in your cover letter. So I would say create a hook that makes people want to read your bio. So it could be a question talking about a problem that you solve. It could be making a statement that people resonate with and see themselves in. Something that shows, I want you to read this and I want you to know what I want you to see yourself in this part so that you then see me being the solution, kind of thing. So figure out how to hook your audience. And that comes from, again, my background of being an English major and writing and loving language and knowing you got to get people in right at the start. And it's not just your little memoir. It's literally your
Right.
your pitch, your pitch, but also you creating your value in that pitch. I realized that I hadn't gone over the job search villains from earlier. You'd asked about those.
Go
Um,
for it. Yeah, do
yeah,
that,
so
please.
thank you. So, the job search villains that I've created basically come from the challenges that job seekers commonly have. Their resume, their cover letter, their bio, their interview, challenges, creating, a portfolio, things that are very difficult. And so I've turned them into something concrete that makes them easier to overcome. So the cover letter crusher and the interview assassin and the portfolio pitfall, things that are, traps and dangers you fall into because you're not really aware how they're harming you. They're kind of like they have their own secrets, ways of kind of getting at you. And a lot of the times it's because you are not able to articulate those things in the language that would make those not be able to attack you or hurt you. So that's inspired by Pokemon, that ability to collect and see things evolve and grow. And so I think, subconsciously, I think there was a sense of taking that idea of having multiple things and little rewards in and of themselves through overcoming those challenges and presenting the job search in a way that, this is something that I can visualize and take down, as opposed to comparing myself to other people that are helping you with those things. My
Mm.
approach is unique and stands out, and particularly to gamers because it is inspired by gaming. Um, Now, as far as you said English online, what was the question you had asked me before about online right now and teaching English online?
Well, just where is the ESL online education market today, and what maybe could change to make it better in the future?
Yeah, so I I think the challenges right now are there are a lot of ESL companies, and the pretty it seems like it's kind of focused on a few big marketplaces like Preply and italki that are, where a lot of people tend to go. And there's a ton of other companies out there, but a lot of times, again, they're not paying well enough, and it's very hard to make a living with something that you not only is it, infrequent a lot of times because you're hoping people will sign up,
Mm.
but a lot of times you are based on the ratings that you get. And when you're having to get so many people, you're not a good fit for all of these people. You're not going to meet everybody's particular needs. So
Mm.
that means that you are basically inundated with people that may just give you a bad review and take you down a notch. And then you're scrambling to get that rate back up. So it's performance based for a lot of these companies. And that's one of the issues that it comes into. But you're ultimately performing for pennies. It's just not enough. I think what needs to change is having companies that recognize the realities of the situation. I think from being somebody who's done tons of searches, finding tons of companies, applying to tons of companies, seeing where what they have. I know tons of companies that most people would never find. I had to really, really search a lot to find them. Um, it's kind of understanding that just because you have an idea and you want to help people learn English, it's not enough if you really don't have the right you have students. It's not if you don't have students and then you really don't respect the teachers well enough to not only give them the pay that they deserve, but recognize
Mm.
that students are often more problematic than teachers. And when you serve the students more, you take away from the teachers. There needs to be a better balance there. So I see a lot of new companies that are trying to work, and based on what I've seen here, they just don't get the students. They have the teachers, they want the teachers on the platform, but they can't get the students to feed them. So I think we're going to see a lot more AI teaching, which is fine.
Mm.
But I'm learning how to use these tools, and I'm fine with I like using them, and I want to find my balance with them. But I still feel like, people like me that have had this kind of value and specified it and understood how to really conduct thorough, needs analysis and really understand kind of what this person needs, and then using AI to create relevant material, that we deserve to be paid a higher rate because of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of platforms out there now. I know Preply. I've got my 18-year-old daughter on gap year is looking at Preply for English teaching, and she's telling me about that as well. And she's going, doing the rounds of the various online language
Mm.
providers. She ran into an exclusivity clause on one, so if she goes with that provider,
Mm.
she can't go on
Uh,
Preply.
I
So
think I
that
know who
sounded
that is. I think I know who that is.
okay.
Is it?
So
Yeah.
that was one thing we ran into. So, there's all kinds of pitfalls out there. I was just thinking back to another podcast guest pitch that somebody made to me, and when I was looking at it, and this person is coming on the show, I think in a few weeks' time, there was a job seeking platform where you would effectively paste the job you're looking. You sort of paste the job, either the advert or the ideal profile you're looking for, and then it will just search the database and come up with a match. So it seems to me as if things have really moved on since I started first looking for work probably 30 years ago. I've been self-employed for over 25. But it seems to me that things have really moved on that way. Is that a trend that you're aware of? Is that something you've been aware of, that it is very much online, and almost the usual sort of procedure of sending a cover letter and a couple of references, that is now almost obsolete, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I think really what I see is we are needing to use AI not only to for recruiters, they need to screen candidates because they get a lot of people, but we also need to use it ourselves. But we need to use it in a way that is effective and a sort of vessel for articulating our best selves and our value. And a lot of people
Mm,
don't realize that. They just kind of want the cover letter out there, so they throw something out there. But it needs to be an extension of your story. Everything is comes from that bio, that sense of where do I come from, what problem am I solving, how am I approaching it, and then everything is
right.
an offshoot of that. So yeah, I think there are great tools. Like there's one that somebody recommended to me called Hunter, Huntr, which
Yes.
is you're familiar with it, yeah, and it helps you it helps you tailor your resume to a job and also understand like the words that are the ATS is gonna like pick up and you want in there and then it gives you a score. It's great. And are we teaching people about websites like this? Probably not. But they need to know it, or else they're just going to be
Yeah.
throwing stuff into a hat like they used to, and that's not where we're at anymore.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your method and your framework because this is very, I haven't seen this before, so this is clearly something that stands out. You work with gamers, you like gaming, and then you combine teaching versus coaching. So why specifically focus on gamers? Is it niching down? Is it going very, very niche and sort of deeper rather than broader? Is that the strategy? And then could you talk about the differentiator, this teaching versus coaching in a gaming in a job search context? How does that help you differentiate compared to your competition? And then how does this approach differ from traditional career counseling? I'm sort of asking you three questions in one in one block. How does this differ from traditional career counseling? Because I remember I went to medical school over 30 years ago, and then there was a career counseling sort of hut. And I remember when I was sort of in crisis about, I eventually left clinical medicine and went in there and started thinking, well, what am I going to do if I'm not going to be practicing medicine? And the head of the career center was actually a former dentist. So I thought, oh, okay, this is great. So she's obviously found something to do and she was training as a dentist. So how does your sort of framework, your intellectual property differ from that traditional career counseling sort of method?
Sure, sure. Thank you for the questions. So, your first question about niche, the reason I went with gamers, like I was saying before, is that I recognize the overlap and the value that gaming and education had. I also
Hmm.
was targeting people in gaming when I was originally going to teach English online, but those people wanted job seeking help. So I realized that I needed to kind of shift a bit. The problem is that they want that help, but they actually need English more. Because
Right.
they're not really able to do the best job seeking that they can because they don't really understand the language needed to approach it in a way that's going to be more effective and get them better results. So it's a catch 22. But yeah, so that's where I kind of realized I felt like I needed to niche down. I kind of knew that. And it was more of kind of stumbling on it and then realizing as I was going through it that I was how good a fit I was as I was continuing to evolve it and grow it and understand what I really wanted to do, what I liked, what matched my skills, and what made the most sense to me, what I felt like I could do more naturally and easily. And like I said, with gaming and education, I wanted those two things to be together. I just didn't know how exactly. And I think this is one of the best versions of it. Um, and so, yeah, and that's where, like, when I was in college, I wanted to originally become a teacher, but I didn't want to have to go for a master's. I was kind of done once I got my bachelor's. So I had to kind of figure things out from there. Luckily, I live at home and I have, my parents are allowing me to live at home and figure things out because it is very hard. You're a freelancer, you know. Um, and what I kind of realized being a teacher and a tutor was that my style was more how can I get this person to do the work themselves and not instruct? Because I think instruction can be great, especially with younger people, but I loved working with adults and older students. So I found that I was much better and enjoyed it more when I could coach. And to me, that meant moving from I'm telling you what to do to you're going to figure it out based on the context. I'm just here to guide you into that knowledge. And I love it. I love being able to do that. I shape it. I help them see it. I ask them really specific questions that they wouldn't have thought of before. But I come from a sense of this person has it kind of in there. They just don't know how to put it into words. And I got to put my questions and my thoughts into the words that will get them to bring those words out of them.
Jade, let's move on to a few final five questions. These are the same questions we ask most of our guests. Actually, I've adapted a couple of them for this conversation. Question number one, quick fire final five. What is your favorite Pokemon and why?
Arcanine. I love Arcanine because it's kind of like a mix between like a dog and kind of a cat and a lion and stuff. And I just love it. I have a little stuffed animal of him. I've always loved dogs. I had dogs growing up, and there's just something so cool and majestic and about it. Just love them.
What's the best business advice you've ever received? Maybe
Oh,
received yourself, or maybe given to someone else, given to a student or a coaching mentee or something.
I, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but the thing that comes to mind is treating LinkedIn like a game. Making it where, because I think it aligned with everything that I was doing and or about to do when I heard it and or read it. And I think you want to look at it as, listen, it's all just a game, and every part of your job search can be a game if you perceive it as that and you cultivate it like that. And I think that was probably the first thing of, oh, this can be a game too. Keep collecting them, keep growing your network, and just make it fun, you know.
The last book that you completed, the last book that you read in full.
I just finished it today. I love romantic fantasy novels, so I read a book called Spin. I love the story of Rumpelstiltskin, and it was a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh wow. Okay. What's your favorite movie? Just to finish up there.
Great, that's my favorite question. Some Like It Hot from 1959, starring
Oh
Marilyn
wow.
Monroe and Tony Curtis.
Yeah.
I love the humor. I love the gender, stuff that goes on and dressing up as women, and it was so ahead of its time. Um, I just love it, and I think I saw White Chicks first, and to me, White Chicks was like the more modern version of it. But once I saw that, yeah, it was so joyful, and even the finale, the last moment is great. It's just a great feel-good film.
Who directed something like it? Is that Billy Wilder? Is it?
I think so. Yes,
Yeah,
Billy
yeah, Billy
Wilder.
Wilder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he also did Roman Holiday and he did a number of amazing films in the 50s. Yeah, we could just talk about say classic
Oh,
cinema for the rest of the evening.
oh my God, I could talk about
Yeah,
movies all day.
that's so good. Jade, any final thoughts or a key takeaway, like a really notable nugget you'd like to lead the audience with? We covered sort of quite a bit there. What is one final thought you'd like people to take away in terms of their own job search and doing it online using LinkedIn?
So I think it's kind of a combination of a few things I've already said. Looking at your job search like a game, but also looking at it as a long-term investment. Because there's no guarantees right now. So, try to make it as enjoyable as you can and recognize that it's a part of your life. It's not a default situation. It's a part of your life, and it needs to be seen like its own job. But also, just as you can make your job more enjoyable with the tweaks that you do, you can make your job search more enjoyable too.
Jade, where can my listeners connect with you and learn more about your work? Is there a downloadable we can grab? Is there a website? Is it your LinkedIn? Where's the best platform?
Sure. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and on Instagram at Make the Grade with Jade. I also have a YouTube channel, and yeah, and I'd love to see you and talk with you, and yeah, that'd be great.
I like the make the grade with Jade. We'll get those links out in the show notes. Okay, thank you. Let's wrap it up for today's episode of Freelancer Training on how to find more direct clients. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever evolving landscape of language and digital marketing. Until next time, remember what I always say, stay on your game and future proof your career in the AI era. See you on the next episode. Many thanks again to my special guest, Jade Arthur.
Thank you, Jason. Bye.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason played cello in the Bath Symphony Orchestra in the UK. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.